Good morning, everyone. So it is December 19th. We are getting very close to Christmas Day. And if you remember from our past years of doing Advent series, I think this is the fifth year we've done this series, which is awesome. You'll remember that more often than not, I devote these last days exclusively to what is called the O antiphons, starting on December 17th. And I didn't choose to start that way, but we are going to step into them right now, starting today with O radix Jesse, O root of Jesse's stem. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to start with a little bit of an overview of O antiphons in general. We've never done that. We've never taken any time just to take a closer look at what O antiphons are. And the reason I want to do that is I think it's always present in human history that everything we do has all different sorts of nuances to it, that things are never objectively 100% all purely good. And they're never all, well, some things can be said to be pretty bad. But in these emergences of traditions, you'll find that what happens in a certain age, like when these came about, the O antiphons, that they didn't necessarily start right from the beginning of the Christian movement, but they evolved. And they evolved for numbers of reasons. They evolved because people were using a lot of money to hire musicians to create certain Christian texts. And they came about because the inherent theology of the time would lean in one direction or another. I want to give you an example because it's one that's always stuck with me. There was a movement for a while that initiated in the Catholic Church exposition of the Blessed Sacrament, exposition of the Eucharist. And that didn't happen right in 100 or 200 AD. That came about during a time when the theology of the people, of the community, and of the leaders was moving from the immanent experience of God source, the round table, the I can touch, I can feel, I can sense, into the transcendent aspect of the God source. And both are true, aren't they? But in that movement towards the transcendent, you have things coming about where there can still be an intimacy with the God source in rituals. Exposition of the Eucharist was one way to answer that, because when the transcendence and the unworthiness of human beings became very important in the theology, the priests turned their back to everybody. And it was seen that only certain people would be in the Holy of Holies rather than everybody being around the table. A way that Spirit moved the rituals to keep a certain amount of intimacy was to inspire the origination of the exposition, because then individuals could be really close to the Eucharist, even if they didn't get to take the Eucharist every day. That was another thing that went out of vogue. So here you've got an example of something where there's a lot of greatness. People get so much from that ritual of exposition. And yet it came about during a theology that had some truth to it, because source is ineffable, is transcendent, and some unfortunate aspects to it, emphasizing unworthiness, moving away from immanence instead of penetrating the paradox and keeping them both. So you have that in every practice that develops spiritually. There's usually some impelling theology that is a response into and a reaction from. It's believed that the O antiphons came about somewhere between the 6 and the 800s. And the phrases that are part of the O antiphons were very popular from the beginning. because they are phrases that point back to the Hebrew text, especially the text of Isaiah. They're phrases that point to the prophetic uh, utterances that were fulfilled, the Christian community believes, in Jesus. And they're called the great antiphons, but they likely came about in Italy, and they were likely commissioned by somebody, a leader in the community who wanted them put to music, a pope at the time. So you've got hierarchy, which is ruling things, which has good and bad to it. But through it is emerging something that has great and lasting value. And the antiphons go from the 17th through the 23rd. We know them by the popular song, O Come, Emmanuel. On the 17th is O Wisdom, Come. On the 18th is O Adonai, O Lord, Come. Today is O Root of Jesse, Come. Tomorrow, O Key of David. The 21st, O Morning Star, which parallels the solstice. The next day, O King of the Nations. And the next day, O Emmanuel, Savior, Savior. Now, there's a construct to each one of these antiphons that I want to name. There's 4 pieces to every antiphon, which are very, very powerful. And the mantra we're going to do today, that is from the Kundalini tradition, allows us to open up to the energy of the O Radix Yese. First is there's some kind of messianic title. There's some kind of prophetic, like O Wisdom, O Root of Jesse. Second, there's an elaboration of the title, meaning that in the original text, there would have been poetic phrases that describe what it means, what the title means. The third is the come part. And doesn't that add emphasis? Think about when you say come, and you tie it to your intention. Come. There's a stoking of energy there, come. So it's appropriate these would come the week before Christmas, because we're like, let's do it, come. So we get to enter into this quality of O Radix Jesse today with come. And the fourth is a desire to receive something very specific that's related to the title. For instance, the translation of O Sapiencia, which is O Wisdom from on high, goes like this: O Wisdom, messianic title, coming forth from the mouth of the Most High, reaching from one end to the other, mightily and sweetly ordering all things. Come, teach us the way of prudence. So you get 4 movements. And when you chant the antiphons, the word come has a pause. Veni. And there's a pause. That's the big climax in the O antiphon. It's not the teaching part. It's not the explanation part. It's the beginning. O sapiensi. That's the big part. And the veni. They are the 2 pillars of these O antiphons. So today we have O Radix Yese. Let me read the translation for you. O Root of Jesse, standing as a sign among the peoples. Before you kings will shut their mouths. To you the nations will make their prayer. Come and deliver us and delay no longer. So you are going to receive from me a multi-lineage view of this. O Root of Jesse is an anchored statement. It's the one O antiphon that has to do with being in this earth, on this earth, of this earth. And it points to the root chakra, the sense of tribal belonging, the sense of coming into this earth for a reason. It's something that many human beings search for and struggle with all their lives, and maybe get glimpses of it, but don't quite root into the why we're here piece. They're getting really solid in it. So here we have this prophetic utterance, root of Jesse, which points to Jesus coming as what is part of a lineage that is lightly tied to a bloodline, but more so tied to being instruments of spirit. So there is a belief, there's a trace back to Jesse, the father of David, but there is more so a tracing to a lineage that is rooted in this earth, but is not bound only by the earth. And there is the message there that as we open up to our existence here on this earth, we are rooted here. We're meant to be grounded and rooted. But our meaning and our lineage is boundless. And that's how we root onto this earth. Every time we say yes to a tribal way of belonging, we shortchange our spiritual lineage, unless it fully serves that, right? So we've got this standing as a sign among the peoples. The sign, think of the Jesse tree, a great and magnificent sign. And then there is a pointing forward that when this root of Jesse comes, there will be a way that this anchoring and this lineage exceeds, supersedes any other forms of power. Before you, kings will shut their mouths. To you, the nations will make their prayer. We are called to live into this prophetic stance ourselves and to unearth a power and an empowerment that leaves the power structures of our earth silenced. That inaugurates the heaven on earth peace. It's very powerful, right? And then you get the come, come, which can be a come that we say within ourselves. Come to fullness within myself. Deliver us, and delay no longer is the prayer. Deliver me from the ways I step away from my divine lineage. Delay no longer. I want no further alliance with any tribal connection that does not serve me. There's an imperative there. Isn't that powerful? I think that is just so juicy, so juicy. I want to invite you on your own to read through the passage in Isaiah from which this prophetic title comes. It's chapter 11, verses 1 through 10. I'm not going to read it because I want to move into our mantra, but it's sweet. So if you get a chance, read today chapter 11 in Isaiah, verses 1 through 10, and it can give even greater breadth to what we're talking about here. So we are going to do a mantra. I'm going to put it in the chat box. We are going to do a Kundalini mantra. Now, here's another example for us of spirit writing with crooked lines. You know, the Kundalini tradition has some shadow side to it. Yogi Bhajan, the founder of that, was discovered to participate in a lot of abuse of power that involved both sexuality and systems. And many thousands and thousands of people have needed to heal or are healing from that. And right alongside that, we have practices that are liberating for people. Again, the spirit writing with crooked lines. So we don't need to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We can pool what is sustainable, what is truly life-giving. So in the chat, I put the mantra that we're going to be chanting. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siri Guru Dave Name. And the translation of this, which even though it uses the word wisdom, which is a bit more like the first O antiphon, it is all about the embodiment of the source of the consciousness of the spirit, the carrying on of the divine lineage. So we'll catch up yesterday and the day before and bring them in today in the root of Jesse. Here is the translation. I bow to the primal wisdom. I bow to the wisdom through the ages. I bow to the true wisdom. I bow to the great unseen wisdom. This takes in all the realms, the lineages, the multi-dimensions, and that from which all comes. In the newsletter, I'm going to put the link to Snatam Kaur's version of it because it's very beautiful. And we're going to chant, not exactly how she chanted it, but very close to how she chanted it. So I'm going to chant it once through, and you'll pick up on it. It's super easy. The first, second, and third sound exactly like how I'm going to chant it. The first, second, and the fourth. The third goes up just a note and stays up there instead. But you'll get the hang of it as we're chanting it. It sounds like this. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sad Gure Name, Siri Guru Deve Name. So most of it sounds just like that. And again, you'll sink into it. And I will put the translation of this mantra in the newsletter as well. So we're opening up to O Radix Jesse. Come, come, O root of Jesse. Deliver us. Delay no longer. Awaken within us our divine lineage. I invite you to close your eyes. We come as we are, a mixed bag, partially present, partially not. And in this, we open ourselves that the mantra may awaken these realities within us and bring us into an even deeper stance of presence. Inviting in a breath and exhaling. Inviting in a breath and exhaling. Inviting in a breath and exhaling. Inviting in a breath, then we begin. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sad Gure Name, Siri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sad Gure Name, Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sar Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sad Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name. Jugar Gure Name. Sad Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sad Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sad Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sad Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. One more time. Ad Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sad Gure Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. We sit together in the silence for just a moment. In our prayer today, that we are awakened even more into our spiritual lineage, that we are rooted and grounded within ourselves. O root of Jesse, come. I invite you to bring your palms together in front of your heart and open your eyes with Namaste. Namaste. Have a wonderful day. Listen to the recording because I know I didn't give variants in the chant, but she's got some beautiful variances to it. Have a wonderful day. Bye.